let's get into it. I want to talk about three things when it comes to the NFTs. First, I want to talk about what are NFTs? Like, what exactly are there? They stand for non-fungible tokens, and I'm going to get into these details because each one of them is unique, and they have metadata that distinguishes them as unique, which is very different than cryptocurrencies. When it comes to a crypto, if you own one Bitcoin or one Ethereum, they're fungible tokens, which means they're transferable, they're indistinguishable, but NFTs are unique pieces. We're also seeing them really play out as a form of digital art. And again, just to define it again, non-fungible tokens are these one-of-a-kind digital assets. They can take the form of gifts, tweets, and more. They exist on the blockchain, and they give the buyer digital ownership rights in many cases. Something really important to think about, and I'll be talking about this later. The internet, if you remember, started as email. I sent my first email in 1989. That's what I thought the internet was. It was pretty boring, to be honest with you. Right now, we think NFTs are JPEGs. They're not. They're so much more than that. NFTs are going to morph into pieces of real estate, into businesses, into the metaverse, into experiences, into exclusive access that we can't even imagine. So it's going to be more than just these crypto kitties, which I'm showing here on screen right now. So stay tuned, because it's more than just a bunch of funny looking animals. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I got my NFT in my pocket right now, and I like him. I kind of like that guy. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's going to be bigger. All right. Number two, I want to explain what is digital art and why is it replacing physical art. This is a phenomenon. We have to understand the psychology, and what you'll see here on screen is a picture of a Jackson Pollock painting. Now, Jackson Pollock was known for dripping paint on canvas. If anybody here on Zoom, wave your hands if you know what I'm talking about. Jackson Pollock, he used to literally drip the paint. They called him Jack the Dripper back in the day, because the main society of art world, they looked at that and they said, that's ridiculous. You're dripping paint on a canvas. Please go somewhere else. This is not art. And yet his pieces today are featured here at the Museum of Modern Art in London, and they are now considered ahead of their time and pieces of real inspiration. So what makes art? These are the great questions, and we need to understand what makes art for us as humans. Also, it's important to think of the great quote by Marshall McLuhan, who is a futurist and a media expert. And he said this, quote, "The medium is the message. It's the framework which changes with each new technology and not just the picture within the frame." And so when you introduce a new technology, whether that is the printing press, whether that is the radio, whether that is the moving picture, the television, YouTube, the internet, Facebook, or now blockchain, you introduce a new medium, and now the medium becomes the message. And so why wouldn't you expect everything to change in the meantime? Every time we get a new medium, the message changes and the art gets completely flipped on its head, and that's what we're seeing here as well. So I want to talk more about that. But look, we've always been into collecting art, and I'm always going to go back to my good buddy Gordon Gekko in the movie Wall Street. And you see here a picture from the movie. There's him and Bud Fox, and there's this funny looking picture in the back. I mean, it looks like a black hill with two black dots. And there was Gordon Gekko, and there's a lot of modern art featured in the movie Wall Street. And Gordon Gekko, in addition to buying and selling companies, to flying on his private jets, to making hundreds of millions of dollars, he's also buying and selling art. And there's a great quote from the movie when Gordon Gekko looks at Bud Fox, and he says, "This painting here, I bought it 10 years ago for $60,000. I could sell it today for $600,000. He says, "The illusion has become real, and the more real it becomes, the more desperately they want it. Capitalism at its finest." You really need to think about that quote. The more real it becomes, the more desperately they want it. Look at those CryptoPunks, right? Jay-Z's got one on his Twitter handle. Serena's husband rocking one to the Met Gala. There's only 10,000 of there. You don't have one, and you want one, right? The more desperate they become, the more they will pay. And that's one of the things that's happening here, and it's always happened in the art world. Again, more flexing when it came to the movie Wall Street. We see Gordon Gekko here with a very funny modern art painting with a bunch of heads behind him. All right? And so again, there's more of this strange phenomenon when we see to why do people buy art? And I think there's a whole art of what we call flexing. And again, just to see my studio audience here on Zoom, thumbs up if you know what flexing is. Thumbs down if you don't, but your kids know what flexing is. All right, some of this is. All right, and I'll get into what flexing is and why do we as humans collect art and display art. It's all got to do with where we are in the social structure of our monkey group, right? Of our tribe. And we always want to be at the top of that structure. We do it by dressing well. We do it by our LinkedIn profile. We do it by our homes. We do it by the way we speak, and we do it by what we collect and what we show other people we have. And this is all part of the game here that I'm going to talk about today.